Beneath the shallow turquoise waters of the Bahamas, the ocean floor holds a geometry that should not exist. Sunlight fractures into shifting lattices as it touches something far too straight to be a work of random nature. There, carved into the limestone seabed, lie the remains of what appears to be a sunken road. And less than a mile away, a second formation mirrors it in chilling symmetry, a twin that doubles the impossible. These are the sunken roads of Bimini's twin site, a silent riddle whispered by the Atlantic tides. You would expect the ocean floor to be an archive of chaos, smoothed by currents and cluttered with coral and wreckage. From above, the formations resemble the flooded pavements of a forgotten citadel, frozen in mid-decay. At first glance, the mind recoils from coincidence and demands a builder, someone who placed these megaliths with purpose. To float above them is to feel the vertigo of deep time, the sense that the sea is hiding a chapter of human history, chapter that conventional geology has tried desperately to close for over half a century. But the twin site refuses to be dismissed as mere fractured beach rock. Because nature rarely produces two perfectly parallel avenues of near-identical dimensions in such close proximity. The ocean here keeps its secrets close, yet the stones press upward like a question that will not drown. And the question has lured explorers, mystics, and scientists into its blue labyrinth since the moment these roads were first seen. The story began in 1968, when a diver named Joseph Banks drifted off the coast of North Bimini Island. Through a veil of suspended sand and sea fans, he glimpsed a long ridge of enormous stone blocks aligned with unsettling precision. They stretched for over half a kilometer, each block averaging several feet in width and appearing deliberately trimmed. Seers and psychics spoke of ancient harbors, breakwaters, and the very roads of Poseidia itself, the fabled Atlantis. Yet what silenced many early hopes was the geologist's verdict. The Bimini Road was simply beach rock, naturally fractured into neat rectangles. For decades, the official record closed the book, labeling the formation a product of routine coastal cementation. But the sea was not done talking, because in the years that followed, divers and sonar sweeps uncovered its hidden twin. It formed a parallel avenue, like a mirror image, draped in the same eerie alignment and composed of the same calcified sediment. The twin site breathed new life into the enigma, a second anomaly that statistical randomness struggles to explain. If one such road is a geological quirk, two identical roads a mile apart begin to carry the weight of deliberate design. You have to imagine yourself drifting in a weightless twilight, your compass spinning as you trace the second avenue. Sea turtles glide overhead, while your fingertips brush the water-worn edges of what could be a drowned causeway. Each block weighs multiple tons, and several show undercut notches and uniform spacing that deepen the mystery. Proponents of an artificial origin point to the fact that many appear to have been placed on top of a bedding layer, not formed in situ. The sand beneath them holds an organic silence, as if something far older than recorded history once rested here. And yet, geological counter-arguments remain formidable. The blocks show no tool marks, no quarry source, no cultural debris. Some samples suggest the stones are roughly 3,000 years old, aligning with Plato's Atlantis legend. Other readings indicate far older Pleistocene origins, long before any known human civilization could have shaped them. The twin site amplifies this dissonance by presenting the same contradiction in a second pristine location. Picture a diver navigating a corridor of squared monoliths, while hammers and pencils map the impossible. Every measurement deepens the labyrinth, because both academic logic and fringe theory hit the same dead end. The evidence accumulates like a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape under your gaze. To understand why these twin roads provoke such obsession, you must listen to the warring voices of the deep. They call the regular appearance of the blocks a conformational bias, the human eye's hunger for pattern where only chaos reigns. In this naturalist framework, the twin site is simply a second exposure of the same ancient geological bed, nothing more. But alternative archaeologists and maverick geologists point to specific features that strain the beach rock narrative. True beach rock fracture rarely produces consistent right-angled corners across hundreds of meters, let alone a precise double formation. The orientation of both avenues aligns with cardinal directions in a way that some have linked to astronomical observation points. A darker hypothesis suggests the blocks are the submerged foundations of an immense harbor, a naval complex predating the pyramids. If so, the twin site would represent a second quay or breakwater, mirroring the engineering logic of a vanished maritime culture. Edgar Cayce's prophecies haunt this debate from the shadow realm of legend, predicting the rediscovery of Atlantis near Bimini. For many true believers, the twin roads are the physical echo of a civilization cleansed by a cataclysmic flood 10,000 years ago. Yet science demands proof, and as of now, not a single artifact, no pottery, no metal, no carving, has been found wedged between the stones. This absolute archaeological silence is perhaps the most haunting aspect of the twin site. It is as if whoever built such roads, or whatever process forged them, erased all trace of human presence with surgical care. You begin to understand why this mystery refuses to resolve, why it instead expands the more you study it. Fractured rock should leave debris and irregular splintering, not the avenue-like uniformity that side-scan sonars so starkly reveal. Oceanographers counter with examples of similar formations in Scotland and Japan, where nature mimics human masonry. But the Bahamas twin does something rare. It offers a pair of formations so aligned that a statistician would raise an eyebrow. If coincidence alone produced both roads, the probability begins to strain belief even for the most rational mind. You could mistake them for the sleepwalking shadows of giants stirring beneath a liquid sky. Every decade, a new expedition arrives with more advanced sonar, more precise laser scans of the limestone pavement. They map the twin roads, convinced that technology will finally pronounce the verdict, and every time, the verdict remains a hung jury. Some engineers argue the blocks are ballast from sunken galleons, but the scale and organization defy that possibility. Others whisper of a prehistoric land bridge, now submerged, that once connected a Caribbean cradle of civilization. The theory expands until it touches the edges of myth, where the twin roads become the arteries of a drowned world. When science falters, the human heart fills the silence with stories it desperately wants to be true. And in the deep blue twilight, the twin roads listen without comment, their granite lips sealed by the weight of millennia. The sand shifts, the corals encrust, and the tide erases the footprints of every diver who tried to touch the truth. You realize that this labyrinth is not made only of stone, but of our own deep yearning for a secret history. Those who become entangled in the twin site rarely emerge unchanged, because the mystery becomes a personal obsession. I have spoken with divers who spent decades returning to the same ridges, measuring the same gaps, sketching the same angles. They describe a creeping disorientation, a sensation that the stones rearrange themselves between visits like a dream one cannot escape. Psychologists note that prolonged exposure to unsolvable enigmas, reshapes the cognitive map of the seeker. You start seeing sacred geometry in coral formations and hearing lost music in the murmur of the Gulf Stream. Some fringe researchers abandoned their careers altogether, retreating to live in boats anchored above the twin roads. Tales of missing expeditions flicker at the margins of this mystery, though few reach the official record. Locals on North Bimini speak of old fishermen who claimed the roads were the backs of sleeping sea serpents in island lore. But in the sober light of a morning dive, the twin roads are simply stone, water, and the unbearable silence of the unknown. The human cost lies in the hunger for resolution, a hunger that these twin sunken avenues will not feed. We tell ourselves that time reveals all things, yet the ocean has perfected the art of erasing memory. The twin sight dissolves our arrogance, reminding us that the sea covers 70% of the earth and we have mapped barely 5%. Who can say how many other twin alignments lie under other turquoise blankets, waiting for the first pair of eyes? The Bimini twin site stands as a portal through which modern certainty drains away into the abyss of forgotten ages. The sun begins its descent, and the shadows lengthen until the roads become ink-black sutures holding an ancient wound. Whether they were carved by human hands or forged by the slow alchemy of calcium carbonate and pressure, their effect is identical. They haunt us. They propel us to the very edge of what we know, and then they leave us there to shiver in the current. Time works its relentless clockwork upon the limestone, grinding the edges of the twin roads a little smoother with each passing season. Someday, the formations will erode into indistinguishable rubble, and the mystery will vanish without ever bowing to an answer. Perhaps that is the nature of true enigmas. They are not meant to be solved, only to be experienced as thresholds of wonder. You can still visit the waters off Bimini, don your mask, and descend until the pressure sings in your ears. You will see the long procession of stones marching into the blue haze, and your heart will skip a beat as it always does. For a moment, you will be absolutely certain that this is the handiwork of a lost intelligence reaching across time. And in the next breath, the cold clarity of doubt will return, whispering that the universe is a master of beautiful lies. But the twin roads do not care what you believe. They simply persist, half artifact, half accident, wholly entrenched in the deep. The silence down there is the great teacher, the abyss that stares back into the pupil of your soul. You ascend slowly, preserving the nitrogen in your blood, but the mystery injects itself deeper than any physical pressure. And as you break the surface into the fading gold of the evening, you understand that some puzzles are built not to be solved, but to measure the depth of our own curiosity.